Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're doing something a bit different, taking a really personalized look at some source material to understand you, our listener, a bit better.
That's right. We're going to try and, unlock some insights, see what we find.
Exactly. So for this exploration, we've got an Enneagram analysis for someone we're calling Soul Traveler.
Yes, and it's quite detailed. It pulls together different personality aspects and, interestingly, even has some insights from a character named Zoran the Dragon.
Zoran the Dragon. Okay, now I'm definitely curious. So the mission here is to really get under the hood of these Enneagram results for Soul Traveler.
Right. We want to pull out the key stuff, the really illuminating bits.
Yeah, paint a clear picture of their inner world, maybe highlight some paths for growth, but without, drowning everyone in jargon.
Sounds good. So based on this interpretation, Zoran's analysis points to a core Enneagram type, type 3. That's the achiever.
The achiever. Okay. Sounds very goal-oriented. What are the main characteristics here? What drives this type?
Well, at its heart, type 3 is really marked by this intense ambition, a competitiveness, a need for control over how things turn out. They're really motivated by succeeding, and there's a strong desire underneath for recognition.
So how might that play out for Soul Traveler? That drive.
It's interesting, right? That relentless push for achievement, sometimes it can actually lead to maybe taking on too much. It can blur the line between being effective and just being busy.
And the data seems to back this up. Zoran mentioned some accurate responses.
Exactly. The analysis highlighted that Soul Traveler accurately identified as being detail-oriented, organized, punctual, reliable.
Okay, yeah, that definitely fits the picture of someone who's, on top of things, driven to get results.
Precisely. But as you know, the Enneagram is usually more complex than just one type. This type 3 profile also shows a significant influence from wing 2, the helper.
Ah, the helper wing. So how does that soften the edges of the achiever?
Well, the wing 2 brings in qualities like empathy, generosity, loyalty, a real concern for others.
Yeah.
So, alongside that personal drive for success, there's also this strong need for connection, a desire to be, well, appreciated by people.
So it's not just about climbing the ladder then?
Not entirely. The achiever part might push for excellence at work. Yeah, partly for the recognition, but the helper wing could mean they also genuinely want to use their abilities to help others. It adds another layer.
That does make it more complex, doesn't it? There's a relational aspect mixed in. Now, Zoran also noted some responses that were only somewhat accurate about expressing emotions, feelings of loneliness. How does the helper wing tie into that?
This is likely where some internal friction might show up. The helper wing probably creates a real desire for deep connection, for intimacy.
Right.
But the achiever's focus, that's often on projecting that successful image, maintaining control. So that could make someone hesitant to show vulnerability.
Which could lead to those lonely feelings, even if they look successful on the outside.
Exactly. It's like the helper wants that authentic bond, but the achiever worries that showing any kind of quote-unquote weakness might risk their image or success.
That's a really sharp insight, that tension between wanting connection and fearing imperfection. Now, there was another influence mentioned, type 1, the reformer. What part does that play?
Ah, the reformer. This connects to that strong inner sense of right and wrong, a desire for order, for rules. It lines up with the accurate responses about being disciplined and organized.
Okay.
And even those somewhat accurate responses about worrying, that fits too. The type 1 has this inner critic that's always pushing for perfection, very aware of how things should be done.
So this type 1 inner critic could actually, amplify the type 3's drive.
Yeah.
Push them harder, but maybe also increase anxiety, fear of messing up.
Precisely. It's a potent mix. The 3's ambition combined with the 1's demand for correctness. It can absolutely fuel success. But yeah, it can also create a lot of internal pressure, like having a coach inside your head who demands not just a win, but flawless execution.
Wow, okay. So with all this interplay, what happens when a type 3 like this hits significant stress? And conversely, what does healthy growth look like?
Under stress, a type 3 might move towards or disintegrate towards a type 9, the peacemaker.
The peacemaker, how does that manifest?
Think of it like that high-powered engine just running out of gas. It can lead to withdrawal, avoiding conflict, maybe a kind of apathy that feels really out of character for them.
Okay. And the positive direction, integration.
Healthy development sees the 3 integrating towards type 6, the loyalist. This means becoming more grounded, finding more inner security, learning to trust their gut feelings rather than just relying on what others think.
Right, that external validation piece.
Exactly. And Zoran's note about some fluctuating responses, that actually suggests Soul Traveler might already be tapping into some of those healthier six qualities sometimes. Shows potential for that inner resilience, that loyalty.
Okay, so day to day, what kind of behaviors might we expect from someone with this profile? How would they likely come across?
You probably see someone who presents as very competent, confident, often quite charming, engaging, very goal-focused, looking for those tangible results.
Oh, it may be.
But maybe, yeah, there might be a subtle discomfort with real vulnerability, a tendency to keep deep emotional intimacy, perhaps, a bit at arm's length.
And underneath all that, what are the core drivers? The needs, the anxieties? What are the big motivations and fears for a type 3?
The core motivation is really this deep need to feel valuable, to feel worthy, through what they achieve and the recognition they get for it.
And that comes from...
It often stems from a really fundamental fear of being seen as a failure or as insignificant. The basic fears circle around not being good enough, being unloved for who they are versus what they do, and ultimately, yeah, a fear of worthlessness.
Those are definitely powerful anxieties. So what defenses might someone with this profile typically use to manage those fears?
Common defense mechanisms we see with type 3s include perfectionism, try to do everything flawlessly to avoid any criticism.
Makes sense.
Also, suppressing emotions, because showing vulnerability might feel like admitting defeat, right? And of course, a big one is image management, carefully crafting that persona of success and competence.
Okay. So thinking about Soul Traveler now, if they're looking towards growth, personal development, what are the key things to focus on?
I'd say the crucial areas are about building a deeper sense of self-acceptance, one that isn't totally dependent on external achievements. Learning to see vulnerability as a strength, not a weakness.
And balancing things.
Yes, consciously balancing that ambition with nurturing real, authentic connections, developing emotional intelligence, allowing themselves to be truly seen. That's key for long-term well-being.
Let's shift gears slightly. How might this profile show up in the workplace?
Professionally, Soul Traveler is likely someone who thrives in demanding roles. Places where they can really show their skills, get those measurable results. They'll probably be seen as a high flyer.
Any potential watch out?
Well, they might need to consciously work on delegation and on fostering genuine collaboration, recognizing that team success is valuable too, not just individual wins.
And leadership.
Leadership might feel natural, but making it effective long-term will likely involve integrating more empathy, focusing on developing the people around them, not just the outcomes.
Okay. And what about personal relationships? What dynamics might play out there?
In relationships, there might be a tendency to approach intimacy through that same lens of accomplishment or external validation. Building truly fulfilling connections will probably take conscious effort, moving past surface stuff, cultivating really open communication, and allowing that vulnerability.
So letting themselves be seen as imperfect.
Yeah.
Sharing real feelings.
Absolutely. That's likely essential for building those deeper, more lasting bonds.
Makes sense. So if Soul Traveler's listening and thinking, okay, what can I do? What are some practical steps for personal development?
Things like mindfulness meditation could be really helpful, just becoming more aware of their inner state beyond that constant drive.
Journaling, too. A great tool for self-reflection, exploring emotions without judgment. Therapy can offer a supportive space to unpack deeper patterns, find healthier ways to cope.
Anything else?
And maybe intentionally doing activities just for self-expression or emotional awareness. Things completely outside their usual achievement zones. That could be really beneficial too.
Right. Getting back to Zoran the Dragon, what was the core of his final wisdom for Soul Traveler?
Zoran's main point was about integration. Integrating that powerful, ambitious drive with the wisdom of a compassionate heart.
Bringing it together.
Exactly. He emphasized that real strength isn't just in the outer wins, but in the courage to embrace vulnerabilities. Because that's the foundation for a life that has both accomplishment and authentic joy and connection.
So letting those helper and reformer parts inform the achiever, not just fuel it.
Precisely. That way, Soul Traveler could find a path that's more sustainable and ultimately more deeply satisfying. That's a really powerful message, even from a mythical guide. So, Soul Traveler, this deep dive into your Enneagram, suggests a really fascinating, dynamic inner world.
Yeah.
You've got this incredible drive for success, but it's woven together with a desire for connection, a commitment to doing things right.
Yeah, and understanding these patterns, the motivations, the fears, the growth paths, it can be such a valuable tool as you navigate, well, everything life throws at you.
It really highlights that ongoing dance between striving and connecting, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And maybe that prompts a question for you, soul traveler, to think about. As you pursue your goals, how can you consciously make space for moments of real vulnerability, real connection? How might allowing those deeper relationships actually enrich your life and maybe even fuel a more authentic, sustainable kind of success?
A great question to ponder. Thank you for walking us through that complex profile. And thank you, Soul Traveler, for sharing your sources and letting us take this deep dive with you.